This might just change everything.
A young woman with expressive eyes stands outside a grocery store, watching people chatting freely, her silence creating a barrier she's lived with far too long. She pulls a small notebook from her bag, flipping to a warm page where she writes simple phrases she wishes she could actually speak aloud. Inside the store, a cashier tries making friendly conversation, but she forces a smile, pointing politely to her throat to explain her condition. She heads home through quiet suburban streets, autumn leaves blowing round her shoes as memories of her lost voice echo painfully in her mind at home. Her mother waits with warm tea, touching her cheek gently, reminding her she doesn't have to fight this battle alone. In her bedroom, she sits by the window, tracing old photographs of herself singing in school concerts, longing for a voice that feels lost forever. She attempts vocal exercises from a doctor's pamphlet, producing nothing but air, frustration clouding her tear-filled eyes. On a rainy afternoon, she walks through crowded streets, hearing laughter and chatter around her, each sound highlighting her long silence. She slips on the wet sidewalk, scattering her notebook across the puddles, helpless tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. A stranger kneels beside her, picking up her soaked notebook, his gentle smile offering understanding rather than pity. The first warmth she's felt in years. He shows her a small device, softly glowing, explaining it can help translate throat vibrations into sound, giving hope where silence has ruled. Hesitant but desperate, she allows him to attach it to her throat, heart racing as a faint hum resonates through her body. A soft, broken sound escapes mechanical yet unmistakably hers, and she gasps, covering her mouth in shock. Overwhelmed by the miracle, encouraged by the stranger, she tries again, producing longer, clearer tones, each one carrying the spark of a voice returning. She practices daily, guided patiently by him, turning quiet streets, parks, and cafes into her rehearsal space for a voice she thought she'd lost. Weeks pass, and her mechanical words become distinct and controlled, each syllable a testament to patience, perseverance, and hope. One morning, she discovers a faint natural vibration beneath the device, a whisper of her real voice emerging, fragile but alive. She practices carefully, blending her whispers with the device's support, amazed at the first true sound she's produced in years. Her mother hears her soft whisper for the first time and embraces her tightly, tears streaming as years of silence finally break. Encouraged, she removes the device at home, breathes deeply, and speaks her first clear word, "Mom," her heart soaring with triumph. She laughs and cries simultaneously, her mother holding her close, while the stranger watches quietly, proud to witness the miracle of her recovered voice. Daily, she practices speaking, laughing, and eventually humming, each sound strengthening her vocal cords and restoring confidence she thought she'd never regain. She visits the bridge where she first became silent, now speaking softly to the wind, reclaiming her voice and the world around her. She thanks the stranger, voice trembling but real. "You gave me more than speech, you gave me my life back." Her eyes shining with gratitude, sunset reflects on her face as she walks through the city streets, her voice growing stronger, carrying laughter and words that were silent for years. She walks along the riverside, speaking softly to the water, testing her voice with every step, marveling at each clear syllable she can finally make. Birds chirp nearby, and she attempts a gentle hum, amazed at how her voice blends with the natural sounds around her. In her room, she records her progress daily, documenting her words, laughter, and whispers, watching herself grow more confident with each recording. The stranger teaches her breathing techniques to strengthen her voice, patiently guiding her through slow, deliberate practice sessions. She stands in front of a mirror, whispering her name, then gradually raising her voice, a smile spreading across her face with each successful attempt. Outside, children play nearby, and she experiments saying hello and friend, startled by the amazed expressions of those who hear her speak. Her mother joins her in practice sessions, reading stories aloud together, her daughter slowly repeating sentences with increasing clarity. She laughs naturally for the first time in years, the sound catching in her throat, but growing stronger with every breath. The stranger sits quietly beside her in a park, watching proudly as her voice transitions from fragile whispers to confident phrases. She attempts singing softly, letting her voice carry through the empty street. Amazed at the notes her throat now produces, a passerby pauses to listen, smiling in awe, showing her how her voice can reach others again, bridging the gap of years spent in silence. At night, she sits by candlelight, practicing gentle words of gratitude, her voice echoing softly in the room like a long-last melody. She steps onto her balcony at sunset, speaking to the horizon, letting the warm light fill her with hope and renewed courage. The stranger encourages her to record a message for her younger self, words flowing more freely now, filled with emotion and inspiration. She records, "You are stronger than you think," her voice trembling but steady, a tangible proof of years of perseverance. Each day, she notices subtle improvements, longer phrases, steadier tones, more control, and a voice that begins to feel fully her own. She practices in cafes, subtly reading aloud to herself, gaining confidence in public without fear or hesitation. Her mother weeps tears of joy as she hears her daughter speak naturally, the sound a gift years in the making. She visits her old school, sharing a few words with her former teacher, astonished at the way her voice can now express emotions she once hid. A gentle breeze lifts her hair as she speaks to the sky, phrases of gratitude and hope flowing effortlessly from her throat. She laughs with friends she hasn't seen in years, sharing stories she once only wrote in her notebook, now spoken aloud. She reads aloud a favorite childhood story to her mother, her voice carrying warmth, confidence, and a long-awaited connection. The stranger surprises her with a small upgraded device, no longer necessary for speech, but symbolic of her journey and growth. She smiles, holding it like a trophy, remembering the first time it gave her a sound. Now, a cherished memory of her transformation. She visits the park where she first met the stranger, speaking freely to passersby, amazed at the simple joy of being heard. Each word she utters carries emotion, laughter, wonder, relief, transforming everyday conversations into celebrations of her regained voice. She practices storytelling aloud, experimenting with pitch, rhythm, and tone, enjoying how her voice conveys the feelings she once hid in her bedroom. She writes reflections on her progress while speaking them softly, blending writing and voice in a healing ritual. A sunny morning finds her greeting neighbors confidently, exchanging words with joy and authenticity she never believed she'd experience again. She sings softly while preparing breakfast, her voice filling the kitchen with warmth and an undeniable sense of freedom. The stranger joins her for a walk along the river, listening to her speak naturally, proud of the resilience she has cultivated. She practices calling out to her mother from across the yard, the words crisp and clear, making both of them laugh with happiness. Her confidence grows, and she begins attending small community events, speaking publicly without hesitation, her voice drawing attention and admiration. She teaches younger children a short story, reading aloud, her expressive voice capturing attention, imagination, and admiration. At home, she shares her progress in front of a mirror, smiling at the reflection of a girl who has conquered years of silence. She writes letters to friends she lost touch with, reading them aloud before sending, reconnecting with the world she once withdrew from. Her laughter becomes more natural each day, spilling into conversations, echoing in rooms that were once filled with quiet tension. She walks through a busy street, practicing speaking while interacting with strangers, amazed at how easily words now flow from her lips. One afternoon, she sings along with a street musician, harmonizing her voice and enjoying the spontaneity of sound she can now create. Her mother watches proudly from a bench, tears of joy streaming as her daughter speaks, sings, and laughs without hesitation. She visits the cafe where she first practiced robotic words, now reading poems aloud to patrons. Fully confident in her voice, she records herself reading a short story for the first time entirely without the device, amazed at the control she now has. Sunlight filters through her window as she practices a heartfelt monologue, each word flowing with clarity, emotion, and life. She smiles at her reflection, realizing she no longer fears silence. Instead, she treasures every sound she can create. Her voice grows steadier each day, capable of expressing anger, joy, sadness, and excitement, emotions she had long suppressed. She laughs heartily while recounting a funny story to her mother, voice filling the room, a sound both new and familiar. She begins reading aloud in her garden, speaking to flowers, trees, and birds, embracing the freedom of sound without an audience. The stranger invites her to a small presentation where she shares her story, her voice touching hearts in the audience. She practices speeches at home, experimenting with modulation, emotion, and volume, mastering the art of expressing herself fully. Her confidence blooms, and she starts meeting new people, engaging in conversations she once only dreamed of having. She teaches a friend how to overcome fear of public speaking, using her own experience as inspiration and guidance. She records her journey as a sure audio diary, each entry capturing growth, resilience, and the joy of rediscovered voice. She visits her childhood neighborhood, speaking freely to neighbors she once avoided, reconnecting with her past through sound. Her mother joins her in morning exercises, speaking phrases together, celebrating each clear syllable as a victory. She laughs at a private joke with the stranger, the sound of her voice blending perfectly with the joy of the moment. She performs a small song at home for the first time, her voice rising confidently and naturally, filling the room with melody each day. She notices how much easier words flow, her voice stronger, richer, and unmistakably her own. She speaks to her reflection in the mirror, offering encouragement to herself, a conversation long overdue after years of silence. She reads aloud a childhood story to her mother, both of them laughing and crying, marveling at how far she has come. She practices speaking outdoors, experimenting with volume and tone, amazed at how her voice carries across open spaces. A passerby compliments her voice, and she responds naturally, grateful for the simple pleasure of being heard without fear. She writes her thoughts, then reads them aloud, merging her love for writing and her regained voice into a new form of expression. She sings a favorite song, her voice blending emotion and melody, each note carrying years of longing and triumph. Flex on her journey, realizing she has reclaimed not only her voice, but also her confidence, joy, and freedom. She shares her story with a local radio station, speaking confidently, inspiring listeners with her perseverance and resilience. She laughs at a shared memory with the stranger, her voice warm, clear, and vibrant, filling the quiet streets around them. She practices storytelling for children at a library, her expressive voice capturing attention, imagination, and admiration. She reads aloud in a cafe, friends and strangers listening, amazed by the transformation from silence to confident speech. She sings softly at sunset, her voice carrying across the river, blending perfectly with the natural sounds of the evening. She teaches breathing exercises to younger students, using her own journey as motivation for their confidence and self-expression. She shares a heartfelt story with her mother, voice strong, tender, and filled with gratitude, bridging years of silence with sound. She practices speeches for a community event, her voice commanding, emotive, and full of self-assurance she never thought possible. She laughs freely with friends, telling stories she once only wrote in notebooks, enjoying the effortless flow of conversation. She visits the bridge where her journey began, speaking aloud to the wind, celebrating her regained voice, courage, and independence. She turns to the stranger, smiling warmly, and says clearly, "You gave me more than speech, you gave me my life back." Her voice strong, steady, and full of life.